Hello, hello, hello. We are back. Tonight, Ron has rejoined us. He had to take a brief break last week. I hope everything's okay, Ron. Would you like to say hello? Is everything all right?
Everything's fine. Just
Uh,
another baby in the family. Nothing special though.
all right. Well, there we have it. And we have a wonderful guest from he's a New York Red Bulls podcaster, Seeing Red, Mark.
Hello, hello.
And Mark, just before we get started, could you please tell everybody the name of your podcast and the best way you could be reached via social media?
Yeah, I've cleverly hidden it on the bottom of my screen. It's Seeing Red is a nearly 6-year-old podcast covering all things New York Red Bulls. We talk to the players, we talk to the executives and coaches and fans and opposing players from around the league, and we've been doing it, like I said, for a long time now. So we like to say we have our fingers on the pulse of Red Bulls Nation, and it's been quite a wild ride.
Well, I hope that Ron and I's journey through, covering the team is not as wild as yours, but still as successful. 6 years is a lot to be said, so congratulations. And with that said, we will get started. The Red Bulls, as most of you know, first in the East, 48 points. They are 3-2 in their last 5, and I was just looking up some of their players' stats this morning, and I got a little overwhelmed with all these goals and assists that these guys have in comparison to us. So if you guys just want to stick with me on this, I'm still a little overwhelmed. Bradley Wright-Phillips, 14 goals, 7 assists. Grilla has 7 goals and 7 assists. Sasha, I'm terrible with names. Kleshtin
Yeah.
has 6 goals, 10 assists. Sam has 7 goals and 6 assists. So, that's there are a lot of people to stop there. With that said, we're coming off 2 wins, and that's the best 2 wins we've had in a long time. So hopefully, we'll see what happens this week. And Mark, I'll just start with you. Out of the players I mentioned, obviously Bradley Wright-Phillips, everybody knows who that is. Is there any players on your team other than the aforementioned players that we would need to know about? And then we all know about Dax McCarty because he's from Florida.
Yes, we're in Florida. Yeah, the Red Bulls have a really interesting team philosophy this year. For those fans of yours that may just be paying attention to MLS this year, this team, over the course of its 20-year history, has really been known for paying lots of money for very expensive, well-known names to help create some buzz in the New York market. This year, really for the first time, team management said we're going to go young and we're going to go less known and we're going to invest a little less money. This is a team that had both Thierry Henry and Tim Cahill on the squad last year, and this year the team is the star. And what it means is Sacha Kljestan, has played 40-plus times for the U.S. men's national team, had a long career in Belgium, and he's come back to play in MLS, went to Seton Hall, so local New Jersey college boy playing for the team. He's probably the biggest name. Felipe Martins had an absolute screamer of a goal this past weekend, yesterday afternoon in Portland. When you talk about the Red Bulls, you really have to talk about the midfield triangle, which traditionally is both Felipe and Dax McCarty playing D-mids, swings, and then you've got Sacha Kljestan in front of them. And that kind of magic triangle has generated a whole lot of offense for the team, A, and B, helped shut down a lot of opposing players because both Dax and Felipe are first defensive-minded midfielders. So in New York's high press, which they press very, very high, and they put a whole lot of pressure on the team even to get it out of their own end. Those are the guys that really make it happen. So those 3 are very important to know.
And to me, you just summed up what happened when you guys came here. So
Yep.
That's about what happened, and you guys got out of here with 3 points. So I hopefully we can exchange the favor, so to speak, and come steal some points. And what about I know you guys brought in that we had a arms race in the East at the transfer window, and everybody seemed to make big moves except for us. What about Sean Wright-Phillips? I know he came in. I think he has 8 appearances for you guys, but hasn't done much. What's his form like, or is he just a matter of playing time?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily a matter of playing time. I mean, you're talking about a 33-year-old, and not everyone obviously has the stamina of a Kaká to really kind of be ageless. I mean, Sean Wright-Phillips is a very well-traveled former English national team player. The interesting thing about him, when I think about the Red Bulls mid-season signings, it's really the story is less about Sean Wright-Phillips and more about Gonzalo Varone, 25-year-old Argentinian winger slash midfielder forward that comes to the Red Bulls from San Lorenzo in Argentina, and he is a DP when Sean Wright-Phillips is not. He has a goal so far for the Red Bulls, and I mean the interesting thing is that the more of the role players for New York, Grella on the left and Sam on the right, have been so very good over the course of the season that since SWP and Verone have come on, the form of the regular starters have not really permitted them to get a whole lot of minutes. These are guys that usually come in around the 60th minute mark to add a late spark. Both did get the starts yesterday in Seattle, in Portland. Rather, it was the first time that either of them started a match for the Red Bulls. It was the first time that Bradley Wright-Phillips had ever started a match with his brother, which was kind of fun.
Oh, that's cool.
And Verone had a lot more to show, I think, than Sean. I think the turf in Portland, I mean, it's a great turf field, which is kind of a double-edged sword, right? It's not really saying a whole lot. So I know that Sean had a little bit of an issue. He can be pacey. He distributed very well. He had a couple of good passes and a couple of not so good. But I don't think Sean Wright-Phillips is the kind of player that's going to take the Red Bulls over the top. I think the philosophy, the coaching style, and the players that we couldn't that had started the season with the team are been able to do what they've done, and these two new additions are really helping with depth.
And you mentioned the triangle that you guys have going in the middle, so could you just talk to us about your starting formation and the 11 that you expect to see versus Orlando City?
Sure. So we play a 4-2-3-1. Again, which is kind of a modified 4-5-1. Bradley's always at the top, Grella on the left, Sam on the right. That triangle of Kleshchin up front, and then Dax and Felipe back. And then our back line, we have a very, very exciting Jamaican left back, Kamar Lawrence, who's gotten a ton of raves. He was playing for Jamaica in the Copa America this summer and was named to the best 11 of the group stage of the Copa America. And he's 23 years old. And so then next to him, you've got young Matt Miazga, who is a homegrown player out of Clifton, New Jersey, Red Bulls Academy, right to the pros. And he played on the U20 national team that went to the quarterfinals of the U20 World Cup this summer and has been named to the U20 player pool, the U23 player pool ahead of Olympic qualifying. So he has come so far so quickly, and he has been very, very instrumental in the center back, and he's 20 years old. Then there's Damien Paranel, a French veteran defender, who also has been very, very important to the team. He's willing to throw his body in just about anywhere. I believe he leads the league in yellow cards, and he's been suspended a number of times during the season, but he goes out and gets it done. And then on the right side, our regular starter, Chris Duval, who's in his second year out of Wake Forest, had his leg broken in an Open Cup match against the New York Cosmos. And so Connor Lade, who's another homegrown player that has been mostly on the bench over the last 4 years, has gotten some consistent starts. Lade is not a tall person. He is probably 5'5" on a good day when he's wearing his big shoes. And so his entire MLS career, he's kind of had to battle to get respect, but he is a solid American defender. And then, of course, Luis Robles in net. He just made his 100th consecutive 90-minute appearance in the New York Red Bulls. He has played every game, regular season game for New York since late 2012, and he is the all-time club leader in shutouts for the team, more than Tim Howard and more than Tony Miola for this game.
All right. Well, that was my next point about Robles. So you snaked me on that one. I tried to make sure I did my homework. I knew you knew what you were talking about. So, Ron, same question, but Orlando City. Who's your 11?
Well, it's a little tougher this week, but it's tougher in a good way. It's tougher because they've played better the past few weeks, and so Adrian Heath actually has some decisions to make, some positive decisions to make, and one of those would be, and this might have been surprising even a week ago or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, but I think it's at least entering Heath's mind that he could consider starting Brian Roches over Kyle Larin. Now, I'm not off the Kyle Larin bandwagon by any means, and I still think they want to get him this rookie record. I think it's kind of just maybe a small team goal if they can't make the playoffs to get him that rookie record. But for right now, they probably have to put the team before any individual records. And right now, Roches is in better form. I think Kyle Larin's just worn out. He's playing so many games this year, whether it's international or for the club. And you can tell over the last 2 games that Kyle has just struggled through 50, 60 minutes. And he's been more of a passenger, and you just can't have a passenger as a striker. So while Kyle Larin went through half of the year almost carrying this team as a rookie, it might be time to look at Brian Roches for a start. But but you could also argue that it's fine if you wanted to put Larin in there for the first half and let Roches play some of the second half. That's worked recently. The wings are a bit of a question too because Breck Shea is back to health. He's been kind of the impact super sub the past 2 games in the second half. I think if his body is okay and his match fitness is there, he's probably the likely starter. But if it's not, Heath could continue to put the same lineup out that we've seen and have Rivas start the first half with Winter on the right side. Now, they will have Kaká back this game, which is huge. We don't have to deal with Lewis Neal playing center attacking mid. He actually looks a little bit better at center attacking mid than he does on the flanks, but that's not saying much. And then they finally should be able to pair Higuita and Seren back up at the holding midfield spot, which those two have always worked well together this year. And Orlando City's success usually depends on those two, except for the last game. And then on the back four, nothing stays. Everything stays the same on the back four. They've played really well over the past 2 or 3 weeks. Bowden, Mateos, Collin, Ramos, and Hall. You're probably going to see those 5 for the rest of the year.
And I agree on all fronts, except, I would prefer if we kept Larin up top and kept the formation the same and kept Roches and Shea coming on as super subs. I'm just under the philosophy of it's not broke, don't fix it. So, those the first 2 wins we've put back-to-back, I think, in 4 months. So, I'm not one to change anything since it's working. So, with that said, Mark, what do you think? You guys, your home and away loss is about the same. It's 3 at home. You have 3 home losses, 5 away losses. What's the common theme in your losses?
Well, I wish I could say there was a common theme. I mean, you have to realize that this team has won 11 of 14 games. So they've lost 3 times since late June. The team did have a 4-game losing streak early in May into June, and since then, the real teams, we've lost 3 times. Once on the road to Columbus, a goal in the 70th minute. Once at Chicago, and Chicago really has been our bogey team. And they're our bogey team because of guys like David Ackham and Mbonike, who are just blazing fast.
We have the same problem.
Yes, well, and when you play the high press that New York plays, right, all the Chicago in this case, all that the Fire was able to do were loop balls up to Ackham and let him run. And he scored a pretty impressive goal on the Red Bulls at Red Bull Arena earlier this season, or rather on August 26th, on September 16th, where he took the ball on a counter, made Connerly look silly and Robles look even sillier, and scored a goal. Now, those are types of goals when you play the high press that you have to look out for, because oftentimes New York is attacking with 9 men. Right, and that's going to happen. The last loss the team had was last Wednesday in New England, and listen, New England is a good team and they're on a roll. New York has won only once in Foxborough since 2002. It's an absolute house of horrors for the Red Bulls. Going for New York, I mean, New York is a really good home team. They're 9-2-2 at home this year. They don't drop points very, very often. Obviously, the team just played in Portland yesterday. They came home on the red eye overnight, so they landed in the New York area the early hours of tonight, Monday morning, and they obviously had the day off today, and then they'll get back to it. This is a team that has 4 of their last 6 games at home, and they have more points than anyone else in the league, and they have a game in hand in Vancouver, and they've got a plus 17 goal differential. So they're in a great position. And so the question is, knowing how physical and how hard fought the July 18th match was down in Florida, where say what you want about the call on question, definitely changed the game. And Orlando, was in the game until Grella salted it off at the top of injury time. As a first-year expansion team, your fans should feel pretty decent about where you are, considering how close you are to the red line in year one. And some of that has to do with the fact that there's been an added playoff team, right, to make it a little bit easier. But although the wins have been hard to come by over the last couple of months, I think Orlando fans certainly have come out in numbers to support the team. You guys have strong ownership, wealthy ownership that's willing to spend and invest in the team. And, I'm not predicting Orlando's going to get any points this weekend, but I think that you guys have done well enough as a first-year expansion team. And for you guys, I think the bar is certainly, finishing over the boys from the Bronx and taking a little bit of pride there. And if you can sneak to that 6th spot, I think that would be overwhelming for you guys. I think that would be a terrific first year in MLS. So, again, New York at home, very, very tough. We don't drop points at home very often. In fact, the last time we dropped any points at home was a June 20th loss at home to Vancouver. New York has never beaten Vancouver in MLS play. So it's been a while, right, since New York's dropped points at home. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight wins at home without a draw or a loss. The one thing that you guys have going for you is that Friday will be a psychically bad day in the New York area. Not only is the Pope going to be in town, but also the UN General Assembly is in town. Billy Joel is playing at the Garden. Beyonce is giving a free concert in Bryant Park. Something's going on at MetLife Stadium. So it will be very, very hard for regular humans to get to the game on time. And New York.
Will it be hard for Orlando City to get to the game?
Well, I have a feeling that Orlando City will be in the area, and I know where they're staying. I know where their away hotel is, and they can take a train to the stadium from there, no problem. But for fans around the region, it is, and I believe the Devils are also playing at the Prudential Center, which is right across the river in Newark. So it's going to be at game time, at kickoff, there will be very few people in Red Bull Arena. It usually will fill up by halftime, but it's going to be a very tough assignment for fans to get anywhere around the New York area on Friday.
And do you think that your guys' travel, coupled with all of that stuff, will have any effect on the game?
No, absolutely not. No, not one bit. They had a great week. They had a tough loss in New England on Wednesday. Took the red eye immediately, which was a very smart move. The 6 hours out to Portland. Had 2 full training sessions before the game, won the game, came right back. They're going to be absolutely fine and ready to go. It's not an issue for them.
And Ron, what do you think Orlando City needs to do to win?
Well, Orlando City they need to play their style. They need to try to, like Mark said, New York's going to get a lot of people forward, so Orlando City's going to have to take advantage and be opportunistic. Listen, New York's the better team. I personally think New York's the best team in the entire league. But I think, and maybe you can help me out with this, Mark,
yeah.
I have a feeling that, Red Bulls clinched the playoffs this past week, right? So they also have, 2 games in hand, almost all over everybody else?
In the East, but at this point, they're playing for the Shield. And they're
so you think that's think that's going to be a big deal? Because if you just watch sports, no matter what sport it is, I kind of have a feeling that if Red Bulls were going to take an off game, maybe this is it. But no, you don't agree? I mean, obviously you don't want to agree, but I think that's just natural tendency from players.
I think the stiffer, and I don't mean any disrespect, I think the stiffer home games that they have left will come against the Crew and Montreal with Didier Drogba, who we haven't seen yet. So Orlando, Columbus, Montreal, 3-game homestand at Toronto. I don't know who's going to their head case. Home for Philly, and the notion of clinching the Shield in that game at home against Philly, who's kind of had our number this year, would be great. And then they finish at Toyota Park in Chicago again. They've never won in Chicago in Toyota Park in Bridgeview. So, I mean, knowing Jesse Marsh and knowing the way he's going to have his team prepared, there will be absolutely no letdown. He has his team with eyes on the prize. Yes, they have clinched the playoffs. The other teams behind them are 1, 2, and 3 points behind them in the standings. So they don't want to fall out of first. They don't want to slough off. They're going to push to the very end.
Well, I think if we go back to the Red Bull, the last match at the Citrus Bowl, obviously there was the red card. I don't really care about talking about the red card, but I thought Orlando City, it was like kind of the start of their really bad run, but I thought they played excellent in that game. I thought for the most part they deserved at least a draw in that game. They attacked pretty well in the second half with 10 men. I thought they really took it to New York. I don't know if New York was coming off a short week that week. They may have. But for some reason, this league is about matchups. And just like New York, you said you struggle with teams like Chicago, which so does Orlando City. But then Orlando City has done well against some of the more powerful teams in the West. So I'm not usually the most optimistic about my team down here. But for some reason, I think that the way these two teams play, that lends to Orlando City. How would I say? They'll be in the game, even though I think New York is definitely ahead of them in class. But I think Orlando City matches up well, and I think their confidence is high right now. It's definitely the highest it's been in 2 months. I think they definitely want revenge from the last trip to the Citrus Bowl. So I think there's a chance that Orlando City can surprise New York. I mean, if they got a draw, I'd be ecstatic. I think that would be punching above their weight a little bit.
Yeah.
3 points is probably too much to ask for. But I do think that they can at least, make this a really competitive game all the way to the end.
Yeah, I think that's great. And, New York hasn't blown out a lot of people of late. A lot of one-goal games. I mean, the last time they really hammered a team was 3-0 against DCU at home on August 30th. And since then, they've played 2 one-goal games and a 2-goal game. So, yeah, I mean, I think anything's possible. I just know the boys will be really, really focused. It'll, they had the 2 road games in a week. It's all out there for them, and they kind of see the finish line. But I think it'll be an entertaining match. Is Kaká going to play in this match?
He trained today, so I'm under the assumption he is going to play. And we missed Darwinster in the last 2 games, so he was hopeful for the weekend, but we didn't see him, so I'm pretty sure he's going to play as well. Ron, other than the information I just stated, do you have any injury updates on Kaká or Seren?
Heath basically said today that Kaká is absolutely available, so I think we will see Kaká this weekend. And another good note for Orlando City, this is probably the healthiest they've been since the Kevin Molino injury. They'll have Shea, they'll have Kaká, they'll have Darwin back. This is about as full strength as it gets. I mean, last week you saw that. I mean, we've been sending guys in when we need a late goal. We've been sending guys in like Danny Mwenga over this bad spell of the past 2 weeks or the past 2 months. But last match and the last 2 matches, really, I mean, if you look at, we scored that game winner last week, and Darwin, Breck Shea, and Brian Roches all hook up for that game-winning goal, and those were the 3 substitutions. So Adrian Heath has a lot more at his disposal. Orlando City's got, like I said, their confidence is high. They're playing, I know it's only been 2 games, but they're playing definitely the best they have in 2 months. So I think that there's a lot of indicators that point in Orlando City's direction that they can make a game out of this. And, I think, Kaká's going to be there. I feel like Kaká's an afterthought. I mean, we thought we never could win without Kaká, and now all of a sudden we've won 2 in a row without him, and it's like, oh, heck, we got our $7 million player back this week.
Right.
But which I think is about $3 million more than your whole payroll up there in New York.
Yeah, I mean, New York, as I said at the top, they decided that they were going to spend less and really go young and put the onus on team. And you can't argue that it hasn't been a raging success because it has. The one thing I just want to add on top of that, I know that there was a huge crowd at Toyota Park hoping to see Kaká this past weekend. They didn't get a chance to see it. For those of your listeners, I would imagine the Central Florida area, Harrison, where the team plays, New Jersey, and right across the Passaic River is the ironbound district of Newark, which has a massive Brazilian and Portuguese population. And so, I talked about the notion, who by and large have pretty much ignored this team for the last 20 years, or the last 6 years since the stadium opened. Um, for all I know, they're going to show up in purple jerseys and Brazil jerseys and go nuts and root for Orlando. But, you know, nothing would surprise me.
And something I wanted to add, as Ron was talking about, this is the healthiest we've been. We've strung 2 wins together. Is we finally have a back four that isn't going through injuries, that's starting to gel, that no one's going out on suspensions. I mean, I think Ramos is on a warning for the yellows, but I think we've had our back four have been together, I think, for four games in a row now. And Mateos's play is what it is. It's getting better week by week. At the beginning, it was horrid when we first put him in, but we put him in because we didn't have anybody else. And then now they're starting to gel and they're starting to form, and they're not just being super leaky. They gave up, I think, something ridiculous like 13 goals in 3 games or something like that. So I think that's just another positive step for our defense and for maybe keeping us in the game, but. It's just something that wasn't spoken of that I thought was absolutely relevant. So, Mark, do you have any questions for us?
No, I listen. I think around the league, fans are looking at what you guys are doing. As an original 96er, I'll tell you that it's great to see the support that you guys are getting down there. The opening day was tremendous for you guys, and obviously, as I'm sure many MLS fans will enjoy coming to Orlando, maybe not in July again next year, but I could take a March or an October game and
there you go.
Come down with the family and enjoy everything Orlando has to offer and the match. So, no, I mean, again, good for you guys. It's great to see teams come into the league and do well. And I'm just kind of curious. I guess I'll ask you. Who do you really see as your rival in year one?
Sam, you can go.
Columbus. Ron?
Yeah, I guess it's Columbus. Those definitely been the most chippy, the chippiest of matches, and the two teams have very similar style of play, and Adrian Heath wants to kind of do what Greg Berhalter does up there. So I would say Columbus, although I would like a different rivalry to develop. I hope we don't have to wait till Atlanta or Miami for that to happen, but we might have to.
Yeah, all right.
The fans hate Columbus. It's it's personal at this point.
Yeah, it's bad.
Like the supporters groups, and they're just having at each other nonstop in social media. Even when we're not playing each other, they're still having at it on each other in social media. It's Columbus. I know I was the channel has a fantasy show, and the guy who does the fantasy show, he's pretty outspoken. He doesn't hide his opinion really, and he was just talking to me. I recorded Fantasy Outlook right before this, and he was just telling me about how he was in it just now with some Columbus followers. I'm like, dude, it's a Monday. We haven't played Columbus in weeks. We don't play them again. Like, and he's just like, I don't even know how the MLS handles these guys. Like, it's so ridiculous. So, it's just an incident, just a small incident that's super fresh in my mind. And I think there's been some fights between supporters in Columbus, and the field on the field is, like Ron said, is chippy. It's just, in my eyes, it's Columbus, and I'm not this. It doesn't really address your question, but I still think Tampa, the Rowdies, are our rival. Those games were heated, and I know that was minor leagues, but those were some really, really heated matches, and we do not like them. They do not like us. They're fans on social media troll all on me for no reason, and it's just like, so, Tampa is still our rival too. So I think Columbus, and then very, very shortly after Columbus, just because, we're probably not going to play them again unless it's going to be in a U.S. Open Cup or something. I don't foresee them scheduling an unfriendly against Tampa. So, I mean, Columbus and Tampa, I hate Tampa too. So that's.
I have a quick question for Mark, just while we're on this subject. Sure. I don't know if it was the last one. I get them all mixed up now. But the last derby I watched, I think that was at Red Bull Arena between NYCFC and you guys.
Yeah.
For some reason, I tried to just sit down that as the complete neutral, and I watch the BPL every week. I'm huge into that, so I can be entertained by anybody. But I just thought that, and I know that Red Bull fans maybe don't want to say it yet, but I thought that was the most intense derby in MLS this year, and I thought it was the best viewing, at least from an atmosphere. Were you there, or do you agree with that?
Oh, of course, yeah. No, I would absolutely concur. The first, all three of those games, both two in Jersey and one in the Bronx, were phenomenal atmospheres, absolutely. But the last one with the huge tifo with the old man and Grella, who makes $60,000 a year, nutmegging Lampard, who makes $6 million a year, and then passes off to finish the final goal. I mean, MLS has done a phenomenal job, and I've said this in a number of places, with NYC. They have found an audience of 30,000 people that really did not follow MLS or was not up for coming out on the PATH train to support the Red Bulls, by and large. And they kind of don't know what they don't know. It's such a different story from you guys, right? Successful USL team, we're going to go MLS, everybody's in, community's behind you. You have to remember, these two teams are the 10th and 11th pro teams in our market, right? So that means there's almost no coverage in television or newspapers or sports radio. None. Because there's no time and there's no room. And so this new fan base, they're clown shoes. I mean, they just don't know. They think they know. They think they know what they're supposed to do. They think they know how they're supposed to act. They think they know, and they're so full of themselves, and they.
I thought you were going to show a little respect there for a second.
Oh, I would be more than happy to return any respect that's been offered. Okay. But these guys literally just don't know how to do it, and they've come out as if this is year one of the league, and made every mistake in the book. They're fighting with their FO. They're fighting with each other. They don't. They threw a flare that almost hit Luis Robles, and then they whined that their ticket allocation got cut back. They don't understand why they just can't sign more aging European stars to make it go. And they've also won a couple of games in a row, and they could sneak into the playoffs. I mean, as could you, right? So,
sure.
They're horrendous. They're a total mess. So,
But the derby's good though, right?
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I mean, all three matches were great. Obviously, all three matches Red Bull wins. They brought a lot of casuals to the game. The stadium was full. It was a terrific sporting event. Like, for Garber, and we call NYCFC Don Garber's shadow baby. And
Don Garber's shadow baby.
Game of Thrones reference. And so the notion that this abomination of a team has captured at least someone's imagination, even though they can't seem to get it right on the field, was terrific. And the games were a total advertisement for MLS. Like, any soccer fan anywhere in the world, as you said, Ron, like, come check this out. Yes, awesome, passionate, terrific.
So we had one fan question from one of your fans, Parallel Circle on Twitter, and he wanted to hear yours and my take and Ron's take on fan base relations, the Laren red card, angered purpled fans, but both bonding over hating NYC. So Parallel Circle, I think there you have it. We don't hate NYC. We're not threatened by NYC. We don't consider it any kind of rival because they came in the league the same time as us. If you guys want to bond over hating NYC with us, or I'm open to have another rival. Ron said he's open to have another rival. I don't think it would be very hard to stir our fan base into having another rival. I think they're out seeking one as well. Other than that, I can't really say much about hating NYC. I mean, we played, the opener against them, and then we had the shootout against them there, 5-3, which was a fun game to watch, crazy game. I mean, their payroll is, pretty high, and they, we have one high-paid player, and they have fucking 10 of them or whatever it is. So, I mean, Ron, any thoughts about, joining with the Red Bull fans on hating NYC?
Yeah, it's kind of like you said. I don't know if I necessarily hate them. They're always going to be, the two teams will always be intrinsically linked because they came into the league in the same year, and they're going about building a team different, like Mark said earlier. So they'll always be linked, and there'll always be comparisons with the two. But yeah, I don't like them, but I don't hate them like a rival.
And just to spin off your comment, I think that they say they're going about building a team in a different way, and Mark even knows, and people who know like our fans were here from a big part of our fans, not everybody. I would our supporters groups have grown tenfold since the expansion, but the heart and core of our fan groups are the USL fans. And that's you can say we'll be compared to NYC, but we have something that NYC could never have. So, and we have 2 trophies that NYC could never have, USL championships. So that's.
I don't see any jealousy there from them, but sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, just we have history that they don't have on whatever level you wanna put it. I mean, it could be jealousy or not jealousy. It's still something we have that they don't. It's our ball. We'll keep it.
Yes, they were invented in a lab, and you guys were grown. I get it.
Yeah. Yep. And Mark, your comments on NYCFC, I'm totally in love with your comments right now. You got me and Ron both laughing. We do this pretty much every week, and I honestly probably haven't had that good of a laugh doing match preview to date. So, with that said, you don't have anything else for us, right?
No, just thanks for the opportunity. It's great to talk to you guys. Keep it up, and good luck the rest of the way.
And Ron, do you have anything else for Mark?
Nope, he answered all my questions.
All right.
I think we're going to beat him this week.
Well, I'm on my way there, Ron. Don't jump the gun. All right. Well, now is my favorite part of the show. We'll do predictions, but before we do that, Mark, thank you very much for coming on. And we plan to continue to do this. I at least plan to continue to do it. If Ron wants to bail on me, I'll be pretty frustrated because I think he is the best co-host I could have ever asked for, and I really appreciate his time. But with that said, if you would like to come back on, maybe if we play you guys in the playoffs or sometime next season, you're always welcome. So I really appreciate your time and your efforts and everything else. So, and you can hold me to the beer I offered you off camera if I'm ever in New York. And other than that, we'll go to predictions. I usually let our guests go first. So, Mark, please be our guest.
Yeah, I think I'm going to call it a 3-1 Red Bulls win. I think Orlando will score probably maybe once it's 2-0 to New York and kind of put a little pressure on the match. And Mikey Grella finishes off lots of games with spectacular goals, so I'm going to call him with the dagger to make it 3-1.
Okay. Ron?
I'm going to sit on the fence here. I think it's going to be a draw, and that's about as optimistic as I can get. Like I said earlier, I think Red Bulls are the class of the league. I think if we could get finals with them and Galaxy in it, that would be amazing to watch, even though I hate Galaxy. Don't look at the stupid scarf behind me. Anyways, but I see New York taking a little bit off for this weekend, like I said earlier. I think that's just a natural tendency in players. I think Orlando City's confidence is as high as it's going to get. They're also as healthy as they can be, and I thought that they matched up well last time when they played Red Bulls, even down a man. So I see a 1-1, kind of a slugfest, kind of not the most entertaining game you've ever seen before. And I don't know if that point does Orlando City any good in making the playoffs, but I think it shows that they can play with one of the best teams in the league.
I've been an absolute pessimist since July. I thought our playoff hopes had dwindled at the end of July, leaving that month with 1 point. August didn't do anything for me. These last two wins have me sipping the purple Kool-Aid. I know Orlando City hasn't won on the road since April 12th when we beat Portland 2-0, other than Chicago, whatever, 2 weeks ago last week. And I think we go to New York, and I think we keep our momentum up. I think Roches is going to come back on as super sub, Shea super sub. It'll probably be like 2-2, and I think we snake him at 90, 3-2 Orlando City, and game winner Kaká for all the Brazilians in the Iron District. So there you have it. Mark, thank you again. Ron, thank you as always. Mark, can you just let my listeners or my followers and people you're going to watch your podcast one last time?
Yeah, sure. So it's the Seeing Red podcast. You can find it on Facebook, search Seeing Red, or Seeing Red NY. On Twitter, we're on iTunes and Stitcher and backheel.com. And we go every week from preseason before the draft right through MLS Cup. And if we've spoken with Paul Tenorio down at your place last time we played you, so give us a listen.
And as always, guys, read Ron's articles. They're awesome. CitySoccerTalk.com. You guys know how to get a hold of Ron or Sean on Twitter. And make sure you watch CST Live daily at about 5 o'clock. Peace out.
See you guys.
Bye-bye now.